Have you dreamt of having a super profitable side hustle which would allow you to significantly increase your take-home pay, all while still working your day job? Well, that is exactly what my past student Nadine did when she started her web design side hustle. Now, Nadine's dream career is as an actress, but she needed a side hustle to work with the unpredictable auditions and gigs that come with acting, and also her full-time job. As you're about to hear in my interview with her, there was a little bit of trial and error to best figure out how to manage her web design projects around her full-time job, but now she's found a really good flow that she loves, and she's doing $1,200 day rates as a web designer on the side, and she has some gems of advice for others who are looking to run a similar side hustle. But enough from me, I will let Nadine share the rest of her story. All right, Nadine, can you tell me about what exactly were you doing before you became a website designer?
So before I was a website designer, I'm an actor by training. And so I've worked a ton of side day jobs along with that. Most recently, though, and for the past 5 years, I've worked as an admin for a software company, which has been a dream job. So I know a lot of actors serve or have their own side hustles or things like that. But software companies are really flexible in terms of time. So, or at least in my case, and in most cases I've heard of other friends.
So you're side hustling. What made you want a side hustle as a website designer?
So it was actually kind of an act of desperation because my husband got laid off during the pandemic and we were down to one income and I didn't have any money to train in acting and I was getting pretty depressed and unhappy and, we were just scraping by, but scraping by isn't fun. And I built websites on the side for years. And I'd seen your course around for years. So I'd been like stealing stuff off your blog for years in my own personal designs. And then one day I was like, you know what? It's kind of always been like in the back of my mind, maybe I would try this. And so I think I just eventually, after enough months of being like, I need to do something, I was like, I'll give this a try. So I bought Square Secrets. And then I think a week after I bought Square Secrets business, I was like, should have bought the bundle, but better late than never. And I hit the ground running and it was better than I could have ever imagined, which was surprising. But yeah.
That's so good.
So it was just like an act of desperation to earn extra money to do the thing I love.
Perfect. I love that. I love that so much. And you're not the first actor or dancer, or I also had a figure skater as well, like who have all done the same thing. Like, I need a side hustle on the side of my like passion, which is the thing, which is also something I enjoy and pays well. So you are not the only one. Can you talk to me about the kind of timeline from you started the courses to things happening or getting a first client, that sort of thing, and getting the business set up?
So I started deciding to move into web design in like December. And I cold emailed a personal branding photographer asking to do a service swap. So I'd fix up her website and she would give me some photos. And I also put out to my followers on Instagram that I was going to give away 5 one-page websites. So that was my portfolio starter. And I enrolled in Secrets in Squarespace February of last year. So it was really December, January, February was just learning and figuring things out. And then as soon as I had my website up and I had a portfolio and people saw that I was doing web stuff, I started getting like inquiries and emails from people who knew people. So like someone who had done brand photos with a photographer saw me on Instagram because the photographer tagged me and then messaged me and booked a project. So it was all word of mouth and it's been that way ever since. So yeah.
That's really good.
It probably took me 3 months to really get started. And then it's been a continual revamp process since then.
Yes. Amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah. So it seems to be word of mouth. And I feel like sometimes people think like, oh, I don't know anyone who would need a website, but clearly you knew a lot of people who needed a website.
Oh yeah. It's surprising. Thought I'd have to do way more direct marketing and stuff, but even the stuff that I do, it's all word of mouth still.
That's really exciting.
Good people know good people. So
yeah. And when you do good work, people recommend it. So that's amazing. Okay, good. So you did do some free and discounted projects. And then can you talk about picking your pricing and have you evolved your pricing at all since you started?
Yeah. So when I started, I was charging way too little. I think I was charging, like I would give people like, oh, I'll revamp this page for $100. I'll redo this. It would take me hours and hours. But I was just learning, so I was okay with that. My first packages were about 700 Canadian dollars for a one-page website, and a multi-page site was 1,800 Canadian, so like 1500 US maybe. I'm not great at the conversion. I'm Canadian. And so that was one of the first things I changed is I stopped billing in Canadian dollars and I moved over to US dollars because most web designers in the industry charging US. And so it's easier to compare apples to apples. So for my clients, it's that. And also it's a nice pay bump for me, I'm not gonna lie. It's just the industry standard. So I did that. And then I raised my prices $200 every time I book someone for the first kind of 6 months. And everyone just kept booking. So if someone booked, I was like, sweet, I guess I can charge more. So then I did, and it just kept increasing. So I did that for like 6 months into the summer. And then come September is when I finally switched over to US from Canadian. And then I kind of did a big package revamp and I started offering VIP days. And so my VIP days started at 800 and now they're 1200.
That's
for a day.
That's amazing. That's good. Okay.
That's where I'm at now. Yeah. And I basically 90% of the time do VIP days, which I love.
I'm so happy for you. This is a side hustle for you. This is not your main job. So how have you found this as a job? Does it work well with something else like on the side?
I think it really depends on what your main job is, like what your day job is. So for me, mine's pretty flexible, but I still wanted to keep my web design work outside of business hours for the most part. At first, I did try and do a one-page website in 2 weeks and a multi-page site in a month. And so I would just do a couple hours every night chipping away at them. And that was okay at first. It just didn't really work for me because I realized that I'm kind of more of an all-out design sprint person. Like it is kind of easier just to sit down for one day and really give her. And so I was finding myself really overwhelmed with the 2-week process. If I didn't have a day job, it'd be a totally different story. So I think it depends on what your day job is. Over the course of kind of like the first year, I realized that it's easier for me just to take a day. So I do a VIP design day on a Saturday. It's all day and that's it. I book 2 of those a month and I'm happy. But it took me a while to get there. So I recommend people kind of just consider the kind of designer they are, the kind of projects they're going to do. Like multi-page sites are a bit longer. You do need a bit more time. One-page sites you can easily do in a day. And if you start getting into like, if you have templates and people pick templates, you can do a multi-page site in a weekend maybe, or something like that. And you can charge a premium for that because it's a dedicated service that's really fast and that's a premium thing. So
can you talk to me also about the niche that you've chosen? And did you choose the niche right away or did it kind of develop over time?
I chose it right away. Yeah. So that was the easiest part, which I feel, for me, it was, I'm an actor, creative person myself. I knew that I wanted to help other people because creative people aren't always like performers, aren't always the best at tech. And that's a sad stereotype, but it's very common. And so I am the opposite of that, I guess, which is strange. I've always adopted technology. I learned Adobe and Final Cut in high school and was in the video production team and stuff like that. And I do quite a lot of custom CSS on my projects. And it's just, so tech comes easily to me, but it doesn't to my colleagues. And so it was really easy because I love these creative people. I want to help them. My niche is myself, basically. And so it was super, super easy and simple for me. It was nerve-wracking because you're like, oh, but I could just be a web designer for women or a web designer for, like you don't really want to pigeonhole yourself, but it is so true. I've found it's 100% true. All the advice people give you is to niche down as much as possible, because when you're really specific, you'd be surprised how many people need that very, very specific thing.
Yeah.
It really works.
And a lot of people who want to serve creatives, they think, oh, but the starving artist thing, do people like actors have money for something like this? I guess seems to be those are all your clients. So seems to be the case for you. Have you run into any difficulties with this, or did you have any kind of fears about the niche? Or
yeah, that is definitely part of it. Like I do really want to offer templates eventually, but that's a whole other project. And working full time and doing this and being an actor is a lot. So I do want to kind of target that lower price point. When I first started, I did a bunch of research and I did a big spreadsheet comparing what all the other web designers in my niche were charging. So I kind of tried to price myself in the middle upper end of it.
So it seems to be a thing. Actors, I guess, do seem to need websites.
They'll save up. Yeah. And also voice actors. I do a lot of voice actors, picture editors, directors. Yeah. So all those people, they need a website with their portfolios. And yeah.
What inspired you to take the courses? You could have DIY'd it and slapped it together yourself roughly over time.
Yeah, I
made you
could
be like, I should probably take this.
I could have watched tons of YouTube videos. I could have bought some Udemy courses. I could have whatever, but I saw how much I could fast track things. And I was like, if I book 2 clients in the next 3 months, instead of taking 3 to 6 months to learn everything and figure it out and fall down and get back up again, I just knew that investing in the course was worth it in terms of my sanity and time of getting running. And it did. It literally within 2 months, I had made back all my money. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah. Yeah. I buy a lot of courses now. That is something I invest a lot of money in, and it's always worth it. And it's like, you can get a course on Udemy, but I'd rather get a course that's really tailored and really custom and really specific to what I'm looking to do.
That makes sense. So you had a very exciting financial goal last year. $17,000 as a side hustle is incredible side hustle money. So first, congratulations. And second is, do you have a financial goal for this coming year? Is there a goal that you've set, or are you kind of the more like, I'll just wait and see what happens?
So my goal for 2023 is $35,000. A little over double. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, good. I'm excited for you.
That's the goal.
With some raised prices, I feel like, and a bunch of 1K day or 1.2K day rates, I think it's very achievable. Can you share with me, how many hours do you tend to work on this? Like, how much time, if someone wants to do this as a side hustle, between like the admin of the business and doing the projects and everything, like, what do you think?
So I track my time with a tracking app because I was getting so busy. I was losing my mind. I was like, okay, I need to actually time block and separate everything out. So I can look this up really quick and see what the average amount of time I spend is. Yeah, so last month I spent a total of 20 hours and 53 minutes. Of that time, 1 hour was admin time, 3 hours was design time on a page update, 8 hours was on a VIP design day, 3 hours was on client support and post wrap up things. 1 hour was some tweaks on a project that I'd done back in December that needed some more updates. 3 hours was operations and tweaking because I was doing a big Dubsado push and revamp. So I was moving my documents from Google Drive into Dubsado. So now my content gathering, my images and all that are forms in Dubsado that send automatic update reminders to clients, which is cool. I started doing template creation. I did an hour and a half of that. I find that really hard, so I'm probably going to go take a course on template creation.
Erica from Big Cat Creative, she has a really good one.
And then I did an hour of training and learning. So that would have been doing the Dubsado courses to kind of tweak stuff. So that was how I roughly broke down my 21 hours of work last month.
Very interesting.
So I had
that's
one design client.
That's not a week. That's a month.
It's a month.
Oh, okay, cool. So it's like 5 hours a week, roughly. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
8 hours of that was a design day. So
yeah.
Cool. I will mention though that I'm not doing much marketing, and so ideally I would probably have at least an hour to 2 hours, maybe even 3 if I could swing it, of marketing, because that's something I don't do right now, and I think that would have a pretty big effect on my booking rate and inquiries. So like Instagram and making tutorial videos or something like that, blogging. I just haven't had the time. But yeah, so that would be, but still 25 hours in a month. Yeah.
That's really
doable.
That's really good. The other thing which I want to ask is, people who are thinking about being a website designer, I don't know if you had the same like thought or fear as well. They just think, they start looking around, they find 12,000 website designers. They think, oh, it's so oversaturated. There's way too many web designers. Like, new people can't be successful. Only the old ones who are super known will get clients. Have you found that to be true? Is that the case? You started very recently.
I did start very recently. If you see an opening in a niche that needs to be served, others are seeing that too and need that. So give it a try. And as for something being oversaturated, there's too many people, that just shows there's a market demand for it. So your market's already proven. If you find someone else who's doing your niche, that's market validation proof. Like, your niche has that need. So even if you're stepping in and but like, look at the designers who are super established. Like, look how much they're charging. Like, you can have the same niche and just undercut them a little bit and build your skills until you can charge those crazy $3,000 day rates, right? Like, you're not starting on the top of Mount Everest. You're starting just at the beginning. And if you take a course, then you're starting a base camp. Like you're just, but it is a journey as well. So yeah, I don't think so.
I love that. Okay, that's really interesting. Good analogy too. If you went back to like beginner Nadine, day one, is there anything where you'd be like, do this differently? What would your advice be?
Yeah. My advice to myself would be take a course on whatever CRM you're going to do. So like go through Squarespace Secrets, go through Squarespace Business, then go and actually sit down for a week, a month, whatever it is with Dubsado or Honeybook, go through all their training and really set yourself up so everything's polished and automated and good to go. Because I can't tell you how much time I wasted rewriting emails, tweaking forms, going back and trying to find something, trying to track where a project was at what point, like so much time. Because half of running a business is the admin side of it and just managing the project, not even just the design or the fun creative part. So the more that you can automate that and have that set up good to go, I personally think it's worth taking a month or two to not pay yourself and not take any clients and just really, really put your time into that. That's something I didn't do at all. I just took your templates and ran with them, and they were great. I was booking, but I was spending, like I hadn't fully flushed out my process yet. And that's just something you learn with time as well, Yeah. Mm-hmm. Every designer's process is going to be different. So you do kind of have to be a bit kind with yourself and expect to go through some kind of growth periods and make mistakes and just own them and learn from them and move on, right?
Yep, yeah, totally. Love that. If you're talking to someone, they come to you and they're like, hey, I want to do this on the side. Any sort of like, has there been anything you've realized or learned like in terms of being able to manage this on the side of a job that you can think of that you would advise to someone else?
I think it's mainly the time consideration, like thinking about when you can fit it into your schedule reasonably. Because it is, it's a bit draining. Like a VIP day is a design day. I can't do those every day. I definitely need a bit of time off because there's some prep work. There's all the guidance beforehand. There's a strategy call. I do my strategy calls the day before so that I can kind of ruminate and give them any last minute feedback if there's something they need to tweak or update before we kind of get going. Yeah, just really consider your schedule, what's ideal for you. And then give it a shot and then try it. And it might not work. You might discover it doesn't. Like I thought a one-page website in 2 weeks, awesome, easy. I'll just do like an hour or two every night. And that can work. Like that really can. If you're dedicated and you're organized and you try that and it works, great, do it. Like, yeah, but for me, it didn't work. I tried it a few times and I'm so glad I switched over to VIP days. So.
It's really good. I'm thrilled for you. Awesome. And then what would you say to someone who is on the fence? They're thinking about taking one of the courses right now and they're not quite sure. Having been through them yourself, what would you say? Well, for me, they're totally worth it because I was just ready at that place to get as much as I could out of them and hit the ground running and go. If someone's on the fence, I would say look at your finances and see if it's something that you can afford or that you can reasonably imagine paying off in the next 6 months once you start your side hustle, because a business is an investment. There's so many investments, like it does take money to make money, unfortunately. Like you're going to need a website and a CRM or CMS of some kind, like Dubsado or Honeybook, and training. So like you've never done this before, you're going to either need to learn it on your own by watching endless YouTube videos or invest in some training. And that can be a hard pill to swallow because it's not a small amount of money. But if you're willing to put in the work to really learn and grow, it's totally worth it, in my opinion. Have you had any, or have you made any exciting like purchases or things for yourself since you've been making such great money on the side? I bought so many acting things. I got new headshots. I coach at a really amazing studio here in town. I bought a fancy MacBook Pro laptop. So it's just been the freedom, like the financial freedom to do the things I love to do without having to worry about the money has been life-changing. Good. I'm so happy for you. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Nadine, for sharing your story and sharing your advice. I think people are going to get so much out of this. So thank you. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Fabulous, right? But if you're thinking, well, okay, that's great for Nadine, but I don't have a clue the first step to becoming a website designer, then fear not. And instead, watch this video next, where I will explain step by step exactly what I would do if I had to start all over again, building a web design business from scratch.